You are 17, going on 18.
Actually, I'm
Tired. I'm tired. And I bet you are too. Artist or not, I'm sure that majority, if not all of you, have experienced scrolling either on Twitter or Instagram to find some gorgeous masterpiece on your feed. The epitome of art, if you will. The rendering, the color theory, exquisite. Surely, this must have been done by a professional artist, you say. So, you visit their profile to see what all the hoopla is all about, and to your avail, you're greeted with a bio that states, insert flag of country, dash 12 years old, dash self-taught artist, or something along those lines. You start to question the worth of your own art. Am I good enough? Is this meant for me? You close your phone, take a breather, and silently scream and jump off the nearest building. Well, surprise, that is a completely normal and completely valid reaction. But, okay, what makes you react in such a way? Now more than ever, it seems that the glorification of age and the need to mature so quickly has prospered due to the rising pressure posed by the equally rapid pace of social media. You can open TikTok to see this awfully wholesome video of a cat, and then proceed to become awfully aware of the fact that we're gonna die in a few years due to global carbon emissions. All in one sitting. And I suppose, as Bo said best, welcome to the internet. However, this isn't merely a recent occurrence. Media has always, and if not, played the biggest role in establishing this idea, which I would deem the Prodigy mindset, or the idea of prodigies in and of itself. To apply some base to a blank canvas, Oxford Dictionary defines a prodigy as, quote, a young person who is unusually intelligent or skillful for their age, end quote. What had pushed me to make this video was the result of a trend that had garnered a lot of participation on TikTok due to this very mindset. It samples an SNL skit of The Sound of Music, which was what you heard in the beginning of the video, and thus the title of the video. The gist of the trend for artists in particular is to show your art and, typically, avert expectations by revealing that you are much younger or older than anticipated. It sparked a lot of debate about age shaming and jealousy, but the root of the problem, I don't think, has ever been thoroughly discussed. As previously stated, it isn't only prevalent in the art community. For the reoccurring mindset is a result of a deeply rooted and subconscious wiring done by the media. I personally attest to this, as I distinctly remember sitting down every dinner time when I was fairly young to watch this show. I'm not quite sure if it aired where you were, but it was called Child Genius. It aired around 2015 if I'm not mistaken, and it documented these group of kids who would compete against each other in various challenges to test intellectual competency until one remained, and eventually won a cash prize. I remember so vividly this one challenge, like for literally no reason, where they had to memorize this deck of cards that was shuffled, and the one with the most memorized cards won the round. I think it was just the fact that a kid always, for some reason, just had to cry or at least have a mental breakdown in at least every episode. But then again, they also did a lot of mental math on the show. And perhaps my jealousy was rooted from the fact that I couldn't, for the life of me, memorize my multiplication tables back then. But we don't speak of that. So yeah. But more commonly, I suppose, the success of shows with characters such as Sheldon Cooper, for example, from The Big Bang Theory, or even an anime such as... Okay, I'm gonna butcher this, but trust me, I've watched the anime, but Kosei Arima from Your Lie in April. Both portrayed to be some sort of prodigy, for Sheldon being the field of science and for Kosei Arima being the field of music. Or even then, it's likely that every once in a while a video would trend of some kid in a talent show, cuff cuff, X Factor, cuff cuff, or sport that puts such emphasis on age, as if to break the fourth wall just to tell you and call you a piece of disappointment and menace to society just because you hadn't tired yourself enough to a point of inhumane habits to attain fame. And it's crazy to think that watching these shows had been one of my core memories as a kid and had been the first pieces of quote-unquote real media that I had been introduced to. It creates this social construct from the very beginning. A sort of pressure, if you will, to excel because that is what people wanted to see. Or at least that's what they want to make you think. While writing for this video, I tried to find sources that discuss the effects of Prodigy pressure because, you know, it's good to back your opinions up with claims, as one should. But unfortunately, that isn't very common on the internet, but I digress. But surprisingly, there weren't very many. But what's equally concerning is the fact that you don't actually have to look that far, because it's literally just the entire plot of Dance Moms. Like, I'm not kidding. In fact, some have gone to say, and you know, this has become quite an infamous case, I suppose, that the pressure on the show has been deemed borderline child abuse. Needless to say, pressure has its effects, of course. But you can't blame people for it either. And by people here being those that desire validation, not the exploitation of your children for money, okay? Okay. It's a mix of innate human response to seek the validation of other people, in addition to the ever-present pressure of our impending doom. Thus the phrase of YOLO, you know, you only live once. And as time ticks and our days only become fewer, the glorification of those that put in the hard work to achieve success that some can only dream of achieving much later in life at an early age is quite inevitable, right? Well, I'd like to argue yes and no. More common in the music industry, or perhaps more popular in the music industry, artists, most especially household names, perhaps like Billie Eilish, for example, or the 27 Club, who have garnered success at a very early age and are known for doing so, can be attributed with fame as a result of that uncontrollable factor as well. This commonly being nepotism. Honestly, you will be shocked to find out how many of your favorite artists come from rich parents or people who have connections with the industry in question. But hey, art was an elitist thing to begin with, and by no means am I meaning to degrade the hard work of these artists. My emphasis isn't on the fact that these artists aren't solely derived from hard work. My point is the fact that they cannot control it, and had obviously not chosen to be born into such a life. Nor is it inherently wrong. Like, you know, if you were born into, say, I don't know, a monarchy. Is it wrong to want to splurge yourself every once in a while if you had all that money and, it wasn't ill-gotten in any way? Of course not. Like, you didn't choose to be born into the life you were, right? So, suffice to say, it's partially luck. You cannot blame musicians, or monarchs, I guess, for being born into a musically inclined household, just as these so-called young artists aren't to be blamed for their circumstances and abilities and the fact that they are choosing to pursue it. And the reason I emphasize this is because a lot of the claims made by people in the art community regarding the aforementioned trend, or even in general, they often flood these TikTok comments with things like quitting art right now, or you're joking, or hope this breath is my last, smack my head, or that type of beat. There's a sense of passive aggressiveness that comes with the awareness of someone younger and better than you, almost as if it's their fault that they've reached that point in their art journey. On the other end of the spectrum, and I guess as a young artist online myself, it's honestly exhausting to be able to retain quality with that type of pressure holding you accountable with every piece you make, which is why hiatuses are often such a tempting thing to do and are often elongated far further than one should. And I know because look, the last time I posted on this YouTube channel was like 8 months ago or something. So if that isn't any proof to you, then I don't know what is. But it's kind of funny because it's like both sides are walking the same metaphorical obstacle course, experiencing the same struggles and challenges, but one team or side is illusioned into thinking that the other team is far ahead of them when they're actually just behind them. And it's only that the team is refusing to take time to look back in fear that they're so far ahead. Is it that they are undeserving of the praise because they have yet to live long enough to, pay taxes, or that we can't drive yet? What I think, though, is super interesting, also whilst researching for this video, I've come to find that the juxtaposed topic of this one has actually been discussed a lot more, which is really surprising considering, well, this might be a biased view on the topic, but in my perspective, it's like most of the internet is, of course, composed of people who are of this current generation, like, say, Gen Z, right? But actually, those that are speaking out on this topic are actually those that come from those of the higher age, which makes sense because, as I said, kind of proves the point because they're kind of the minority and are often discriminated, right? And this idea is coined as ageism. It's somewhat similar to the Prodigy mindset, only that it refers as well to the discrimination of those much older, as I said. And the same thing applies. Is it that they are assumed to be more knowledgeable and automatically skilled due to their age? Can they no longer allocate time for hobbies much like the youth can? Though, I must clarify that I feel as if ageism is a much bigger and broader topic that also entails a lot of other factors, such as the intergenerational discrimination, such as, that millennial versus Gen Z, the Y gene versus skinny jeans type of debate, or, the belittlement of certain age groups due to the year they were born in, even in a single generation, not just amidst like Gen Z versus millennial type beat. But according to Liat Ayalon and Clemens Tesh Romer, Ageism is actually the most prevalent type of discrimination, which, upon researching, I was actually very surprised because, a lot may find that they actually didn't know ageism was a term. Or for me personally, I actually only heard of it recently. But it even precedes cases of sexism and racism. It's beyond an art issue, evidently. And so I cannot emphasize that enough. Hence, I feel that the term prodigy also accounts for the intellectual implications of being better than most, which is why I chose it as the title for today's video. So, you might be asking, in conclusion, who was in the wrong? Well, no one is. And okay, I'm not just saying that. I didn't just say and spend the past few minutes here just to tell you that both sides suck, but that's the truth of the matter. No one is in the wrong. Again, both sides are in a sinking ship, a society that places a pedestal on progress and youth. What I wanted to provide with this video today was to give some kind of justice for both sides, to kind of make you feel validated that it's okay to feel degraded when someone is better than you. And it's okay to feel a sense of pressure for progress, because without pressure, then you really won't progress. I don't think so. And if I'm not mistaken, there's this quote I watched in like a TED Talk or something, and it was like, pressure is a privilege. And honestly, in a way, I agree. But it isn't okay to let that fully consume you or be your reason to quit, nor for you to use it as an excuse to force other people to quit. This problem isn't merely limited to the art community, again, but speaking under the pretext of the TikTok trend, art has always remained to anyone, no matter how minuscule of a percentage that is, a sense of self-expression. Not everyone desires progress, just as everyone on this planet does not have the same taste in music genre or food or paint. And, there's a beauty in that. I mean, it's what makes life interesting. If everybody here liked the same band, can you imagine that? Can you imagine a world where everybody liked, I don't know, like Oasis? That, sorry, like no hate on people who like Oasis, but just the first thing that came to mind. But honestly, that'd be a very boring world, and we'd collapse from boredom, to be honest. So, if anything, age is irrelevant to art, as is the color of your hair is irrelevant to watching television. And again, if anything, age provides that sense of perspective. If we view difference not as a means of argument, but as means to further discover and educate ourselves on things that we never knew before, then, all this would have been prevented. Especially in something like age, I feel as if what is common about ageism is that it's a subconscious thing, and you can't really help, of course, making assumptions about age when, for example, if you're raising a kid, you obviously have expectations for what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to achieve. But when it comes to something like hobbies, we live in a free world, so let people do whatever they want. So yeah, those are just my 2 cents, and I suppose in this free world, I am also free to talk about whatever I want. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I hope that you enjoyed this little conversation. If you have any opinions on this, would you like to agree, disagree? Leave it in the comments. If you were kind of shy, I'd appreciate if you'd like or subscribe. It would mean a lot. I think that I'm only on like 34 subscribers or something. So if you want to help a homie out, that would be greatly appreciated. And until then, thank you for watching.